The sound of steel being kicked and echoed across C block like a gunshot. Every cell door shook. Every inmate froze. Malik Red stood in the middle of the tier, hands trembling, staring at the sight no one in Grey Ridge Penitentiary ever expected to see. 3 rival prison gangs moving together in the dark, not fighting each other, but hunting the same man. Flashlights cut through the shadows. Boots slammed against metal. Someone shouted his name. Red, bring him out. Now! Connor Briggs clung to Malik's shirt from behind, his arm covered in shaky blue tattoos. His breathing, so weak it sounded like it might stop any second. He smelled like fear. Real fear. The kind only men who have been marked for death ever carry. Please don't leave me, Connor whispered. But Malik couldn't answer. His eyes were fixed on a man walking down the tier with slow, calm steps. Viper Kane, the inmate every officer in the prison privately admitted they were afraid of. A giant spiderweb tattoo stretched across half his face, down his neck, disappearing into a maze of ink that wrapped both arms. He ruled a crew nobody dare name out loud. And tonight, he wasn't alone. Members of the Eridon front stood behind him, thick with Nordic ink and scars. On the opposite side, soldiers from the Mexican-Canadian set marched in silence, hands tucked in pockets where everyone knew the real weapons were hidden. 3 gangs. 1 goal. Kill Connor Briggs. Malik didn't know why Connor begged him for help earlier that evening. He didn't know why 2 of the most dangerous organizations in the prison suddenly wanted the same man dead. He didn't know why Viper Kane pointed directly at him and said quietly, "You chose the wrong side, Red." Malik felt Connor's grip tighten. The lights flickered. The alarms failed. And the block went completely dark. Metal scraped. Boots dragged. Someone screamed. Something heavy hit the floor. A body, or something worse. Malik's heartbeat pounded in his ears. He had only one thought. This didn't start tonight. Something set this in motion long before, and I didn't even see it coming. And whatever happened in the darkness of C Block was only the beginning. Hours before the block went dark, before Malik Red found himself standing between 3 rival gangs, his day began with nothing more dangerous than the dull clang of the morning count. Grey Ridge Penitentiary always woke up angry. Doors slammed. Men cursed. Guards barked orders that nobody listened to. The place smelled like old concrete, sweat, and cold metal, like violence waiting for an excuse. Malik had been inside barely 4 months, but he already understood the rhythm of the prison. Every yard, every table, every hallway belonged to someone. Southside Blacks ran the phones. The Eridon front controlled most of the kitchen trade. The Mexican-Canadian set moved things nobody talked about in front of guards. And then there was the silent group led by Viper Kane. They didn't have a name, but their mark was everywhere. Black widow tattoos hidden behind ears, inked fangs drawn along fingers, quiet warnings etched in skin. You didn't cross them. You didn't even look too long. Malik stayed out of everything. His tattoos were personal. Thin lines down his arms, a small cross on his hand, names of people he lost long before he ever stepped inside. But the gangs read ink like a language, and Malik's tattoos said only one thing. He wasn't claimed. That made him a target for everyone. And that was why Connor Briggs ran to him that morning. Malik was sitting on a bench in the yard, trying to ignore the shouting match between 2 inmates arguing about smuggled cigarettes, when Connor stumbled toward him like a man being chased by a ghost. His left forearm was wrapped in sharp geometric tattoos that looked freshly done, the skin still raised. His face was pale. His voice cracked. "They think I did something," he whispered. "But I didn't. I swear to God, Malik, I didn't touch that shipment." Malik frowned. "What shipment?" Connor's eyes darted around. "Don't say it out loud. Not here. Please." It didn't matter if Malik wanted the conversation. It was already happening, and the wrong people were already watching. 2 Eridon front members leaned against the fence, pretending to talk, but their eyes followed Connor's every move. A set lookout sat on the bleachers, cleaning his nails with a tiny piece of metal no guard ever found. Connor grabbed Malik's sleeve. "I just need time. That's all. A few hours. Just keep them off me. Please." Malik didn't agree. He didn't even nod. But he also didn't push Connor away. And that was enough. That small hesitation. That split second where he didn't walk off. Because the gang saw everything. Later that afternoon, the first warning arrived. A folded piece of paper slipped under Malik's cell door. No words, just a rough drawing of two eyes watching him. The second warning came in the shower. A bar of soap skidded across the wet floor, hitting Malik's foot. He looked down and saw a spider tattoo stamped on the wrapper. The third warning was spoken. Quiet. Firm. A guard Malik had barely spoken to before approached him during lineup. Stay off C block tomorrow, the guard muttered. That's not advice. That's survival. Malik didn't understand any of it. He didn't know what Connor got himself into. But as he sat in his cell that night, listening to the pipes moan and the distant echoes of an argument turning violent 2 tiers down, he realized something simple and terrifying. He was already inside the storm. Connor found him again right after dinner. He looked worse than before, sweat dripping, hands shaking, tattoos almost appearing brighter under the lights. Panic lived in his eyes. They think I stole something, he whispered. But I didn't steal it. I only saw where it went. I'm the only one who knows. Malik leaned in. Knows what? Connor swallowed hard. The disappearance wasn't done by either gang. It was someone else. Someone higher. And if they find out I talked. His voice broke. Before Malik could ask more, the yard siren blared, pulling everyone back inside. The noise made Connor flinch like he had been hit. He tugged Malik's shirt. Please don't leave me alone tonight. Malik didn't promise anything, but he followed Connor into C block, stepping into the wide concrete hallway where every shadow felt dangerous. The energy was wrong. Too tense. Too quiet. Even the guards were standing closer to each other than usual. As Connor climbed the steps toward their tier, Malik noticed something that made his skin crawl. Viper Kane was already waiting at the top rail. His spiderweb tattoo shimmered under the dim lights, stretching over his cheek as he tilted his head. His eyes tracked Connor, then shifted to Malik. He didn't smile. He didn't blink. He simply raised one finger, pointed at Malik, and tapped twice on the rail. A warning. A claim. A countdown. Everything in Malik told him to walk the other direction. But Connor was already moving fast, nearly jogging toward their cells as if he could outrun whatever was coming. Malik followed, even though every step felt like he was sinking deeper into a trap he couldn't name yet. When the tier doors locked behind them, the lights flickered once. Then again. Then the power died completely. Darkness swallowed C block. Somewhere below, men began shouting. Somewhere above, someone ran. Somewhere close, Connor whispered one final sentence before the scream started. Malik, I think they're coming for you too. And then the chaos hit. The darkness inside C block wasn't silent. It breathed. It moved. It carried whispers that didn't sound human. Malik couldn't see more than a smear of shadows, but he felt the floor tremble under running footsteps. Metal scraped. Someone fell hard. Another voice shouted for help. The blackout had turned Grey Ridge into something worse than a prison, something wild where the rules didn't matter and the gangs didn't need to hide. Connor clung to Malik's arm so tightly his nails dug into skin. His tattoos, sharp, geometric lines climbing up his forearm, felt cold against Malik's own. Malik pulled him backward until they bumped into the wall beside the cell doors. Stay quiet, he whispered. But noise was everywhere. Flashlights cut through the shadows in thin, shaky beams. Without the main power, only emergency lights flickered weakly along the floor, painting the hallway in a sick, ghostly glow. Malik saw silhouettes, 3, maybe 4, moving fast along the bottom tier. One carried what looked like a makeshift blade. Another held a blanket wrapped around something heavy. Connor's voice trembled. They're going to finish it tonight. Finish what? Malik asked. Before Connor could answer, a voice rose from the far end of the hall. Calm. Too calm. Bring him out. Viper Kane. Even in the dark, that voice seemed to carry weight. It slid along the concrete walls like smoke. Every sound in the block paused. Even the inmates who weren't involved froze, as if the air itself thickened. Malik didn't move. Connor's grip tightened. Viper's shadow appeared first, tall, broad shoulders, neck covered in black ink that formed the outline of a widow's spider. His footsteps were measured. controlled. Behind him, 2 men from his crew followed, each with black fangs tattooed on their knuckles. The Eridon front emerged next. 4 of them, pale arms covered in runic symbols, forming a line that blocked the stairs. On the opposite side, 3 members of the set moved into place, silent and armed with pieces of sharpened plastic. 3 gangs. 1 tier. 1 goal. Connor whispered, "They'll kill me for something I didn't even take." "What did you see?" Malik asked. Connor's breathing grew uneven. "A deal. Not a drop. Not a handoff. A deal between a guard and someone from Kane's crew. Something big. Something that wasn't supposed to be seen." Malik swallowed. So it wasn't about a stolen shipment. It was about Connor witnessing a secret that could expose the wrong people. Suddenly everything made sense. The warnings, the eyes watching him, the 3 gangs moving together. Whatever Connor saw connected them all. "If it gets out," Connor whispered, "everyone loses power. They'll burn this whole block down to keep it silent." Malik looked down the tier. The front line of inmates was getting closer, forcing everyone else backward. Even the innocent ones were retreating into their cells. Nobody wanted to be caught in the crossfire. The fear in the air was thick enough to taste. "We need to move," Malik muttered. They took 2 steps before a beam of light hit Malik square in the face. "Stop!" A set soldier stepped forward. Tattoos crawled up his neck like vines. "Viper wants to talk to him," he said, pointing to Malik. "Not the rat. You." Connor jerked backward. "No, no. They'll use you to get to me." The soldier's lips curled. "We don't need him for that." Malik felt a chill run through his chest. The set soldier wasn't lying. They didn't need Malik alive. They didn't even need him involved. He was simply in the wrong place near the wrong person. Before Malik could think, someone on the lower tier shouted, "Front coming up the right stairs." The Eridon front surged upward, boots pounding against metal steps. The set shifted in response. Viper Kane raised a hand, telling both sides to hold, but they didn't. Rage and fear moved faster than orders. A punch landed somewhere in the dark. Then another. Then a scream. The war exploded. The entire block erupted in chaos. Bodies clashing, metal clattering, men shouting each other's gang colors. Malik grabbed Connor's wrist and ran toward the maintenance door at the far end of the tier. He couldn't see much, only the flashing shapes of men fighting behind them. But he could hear everything. Punches landing, boots slamming, someone begging. Connor tripped, and Malik dragged him back up. The emergency light flickered again, and for 1 single second, Malik saw Viper Kane watching him through the dark. Not moving, not chasing, just watching, as if he already knew where Malik was running. The maintenance door was locked, but Malik slammed his shoulder into it, praying it would budge. It didn't. Connor started sobbing quietly, panic choking his voice. "We're dead. We're dead, Malik. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have dragged you in." A loud metallic crack cut him off. Someone had kicked the door behind them. Once. Twice. Hard. Malik spun around just as the 3rd kick hit. The door frame shook. A deep voice said, "Open it. Now." Not Viper. Not the set. Not the front. A guard. Someone Malik recognized. Officer Darrow. The same guard who warned him earlier. Malik froze. Darrow wasn't alone. Another officer stood beside him, breathing heavily, clutching a radio that wasn't working without power. "Move," Darrow hissed. "You want to live? Move now." Malik didn't ask questions. He pushed the maintenance door again. Darrow shoved from the other side. The door cracked open enough for Malik to slip through, dragging Connor behind him. As soon as they were inside, Darrow slammed it shut. Shouts echoed on the other side, fists hitting steel. Connor collapsed against the wall, gasping. Malik leaned heavily against the opposite side, chest heaving. The hallway was narrow, lit by a single red emergency bulb. Darrow didn't speak at first. He stared at Malik, then at Connor, then back at Malik. "You have no idea what you stepped into," he said quietly. Malik didn't answer. Connor whispered, "Please help us. Please." Darrow shook his head slowly. "I can keep you alive for a few minutes," he said. "But after that, nobody can." Malik felt the question rising in his throat. What is really going on? Darrow looked at him with tired eyes. "This didn't start with Connor seeing something," he said. It started when someone inside Grey Ridge made a deal that was never supposed to exist. He paused, and now they want both of you erased. Before Malik could respond, something slammed into the maintenance door from the other side, so hard the red bulb flickered. Someone had found them, and they weren't stopping. The maintenance door shuddered again, harder this time, as if someone outside was ramming it with their whole body. Dust drifted from the frame. Connor screamed and covered his head. Darrow pressed his back against the door, hands spread wide, jaw clenched so tight the muscles in his neck bulged. "They're coming through," he muttered. Malik looked up and down the maintenance hallway. It was narrow, built of old cinder block, pipes running along the ceiling like exposed veins. A sharp chemical smell hung in the air. The emergency bulb buzzed faintly, casting everything in a bloody glow. "Where does this tunnel lead?" Malik asked. Darrow didn't answer right away. He was staring at the door, as if deciding whether to lie. "Basement level," he finally said. "Old storage rooms. Some connect to the laundry run. Cameras barely work down there." Connor's voice cracked. "We can hide there, right?" Darrow shook his head. "Hide? Kid, you don't get it. You're not dealing with one gang. You're dealing with all of them, and someone wearing this uniform." He tapped his badge with 2 fingers. Connor flinched. Malik stepped closer. "You said someone made a deal. What kind?" Darrow kept his eyes on the shaking door. "A deal that gave one person control over the flow of everything illegal in this prison. Phones, pills, weapons, transfers, even who lives and dies. And that deal only worked because the gangs agreed to share the power instead of fighting for it." The door slammed again, loud enough to make the bulb flicker. Connor whimpered. Malik asked, "So who's the deal with?" Darrow swallowed hard. "The associate warden." Connor's head snapped up. "Warden Hale?" "No, not him." Darrow leaned in closer, lowering his voice. "Hale thinks he's running this place. But the associate, Morgan Dutch, she's the one pulling everything. She gets the money. The gangs get the control. Everybody eats." Malik felt a cold wave roll through him. Dutch was known across the blocks. Smart, sharp, the kind of officer inmates didn't talk back to twice. "But what does Connor have to do with her?" Malik asked. Darrow answered with one sentence. "He saw her taking payment from Viper's crew." Connor broke into tears. His hands trembled so badly the tattoos on his arms looked distorted. "I didn't mean to see it," he whispered. "I was just cleaning the hallway. She didn't know I was there." Darrow nodded. "And now she can't let this leak. If the outside world learns a prison official is working with gangs, the whole system collapses. Careers die. Charges get filed. People go to federal time." The banging on the door stopped. A silence followed. A heavy one. Darrow pressed his ear against the metal. "They're not leaving," he whispered. "They're waiting for backup." Connor grabbed Malik's shirt. "Please, I can't die in here." For a moment, Malik didn't know what to do. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't even sure why he kept helping Connor. But leaving him wasn't an option. Not with the fear in his eyes. Not with the entire block turning into a hunting ground. Malik looked at Darrow. "Is there another exit?" Darrow hesitated, then nodded toward the far end of the hallway. "There's a hatch behind the boiler room. Leads to the laundry tunnel." The door behind them screeched. Something metal bent. Someone outside whispered words Malik couldn't make out, but the tone chilled him. Calm. Certain. Viper Kane. He was patient. Too patient. "We need to move," Malik said. Darrow nodded once. "Stay behind me." They ran. The hallway felt longer than it should. Every footstep echoed like a warning. Pipes clanged overhead from the pressure of the blackout. Connor nearly fell twice, and Malik kept dragging him upright. Darrow stayed ahead, keys in one hand, flashlight in the other. They rounded a corner, into the boiler room. Steam hissed from a broken valve, filling the air with thick white clouds. The heat slapped Malik in the face. The floor was wet, slippery, reflecting the red light like spilled blood. In the far corner, partially hidden behind crates, was a square metal hatch. Darrow ran to it and dropped to his knees, hearing clattering. "Hurry," Connor begged. Darrow jammed a key into the lock and froze. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Coming from the hallway they just left. Malik grabbed Connor and pulled him behind a boiler tank. Darrow backed into the shadows near the hatch, flashlight off, breathing controlled. The footsteps got closer. One step, two. Then a figure emerged through the steam. It wasn't Viper. It wasn't a gang member. It was Associate Warden Morgan Dutch. Her uniform looked untouched by the chaos. Dark hair tied back, a small hawk tattoo on her wrist, something inmates whispered about but never dared mention. Her eyes scanned the boiler room with cold precision, and she wasn't alone. Behind her were two guards Malik had seen take bribes before. Both carried batons. Both looked ready to use them. Dutch stepped forward. Her voice was steady. "Bring them out." Malik felt Connor curl into himself. Darrow stepped out from the shadows slowly, hands raised. Dutch didn't even look surprised. "Darrow," she said, "I knew you'd panic. You were never good at pressure." Darrow didn't respond. Dutch pointed at the hatch. "If they reach that tunnel, the cameras won't catch them. We can't allow that." She turned her head slightly, eyes focusing on the shadows where Malik and Connor hid. "Connor," she called, voice soft like a mother speaking to a frightened child. "You saw something you weren't supposed to. Come out now, and I'll make it quick." Connor shook uncontrollably. Dutch continued, "Or stay hidden and let my men drag you out screaming." Malik's pulse thundered. He knew Dutch wasn't bluffing. She ran the inside world as much as the gangs did, and she had come personally. Darrow whispered without turning his head, "Malik, if you're going to do something, do it now." Malik swallowed hard. Dutch stepped closer. Her guards raised their batons. Connor squeezed his eyes shut. The steam thickened. The door behind Dutch slammed open, and someone else walked in, taller, broader, spiderweb tattoo across his face. Viper Kane. Dutch didn't look surprised at all. She looked ready. Malik realized the truth a heartbeat too late. The gangs weren't hunting Connor alone. They were working with Dutch, and Malik had just been trapped between all of them. In prisons across the USA, UK, and Canada, danger isn't an accident. It's a cycle. A system built on survival, power, and the brutal reality of life behind bars. From the silent codes inmates live by, to the violent clashes that erupt without warning, every story you've heard in this documentary is a reminder of one truth. Behind these walls, nothing is ever just what it seems. San Quentin, Rikers, HMP Belmarsh, Millhaven, different countries, same fight for control, respect, and survival. But as we step back from the chaos, one question remains. What happens when a world built on violence becomes the only world someone knows? Do they ever truly leave it behind? Or does the prison follow them forever? If you found this story eye-opening, if you want more real incidents, real clashes, real exposed truths from the prisons of America, the UK, and Canada, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next story may be even darker than this one. This is the reality behind bars. This is the world most people never see.